Oh, I was just enjoying the music. Hi, everyone. Welcome to it. It's another week. This is Doing It Sober Live. We have one South African and one American. So, what does that make us? Super, super special. It's a privilege to have you join us. We're still waiting upon our guest, Ryan Phillips, who you're going to enjoy. This man is absolutely a Renaissance man in my eyes, who's done everything. He rides bicycles. He rides bike for the awareness of mental health, which has been covered extensively by National Geographic. He is a phenomenal TEDx speaker.
No,
So
my internet is not working.
All I can see is that effervescent smile, but there's no lip movement. And there we've got you now. I can still see. Are we looking good?
Okay, there's an issue with my internet.
Oh, poo. But I can still hear
Can you
you.
hear me?
I can still hear you, glass half full. While we're still waiting upon Ryan to enter, let's take an opportunity or two to invite the audience who are going to continually pop in. If you have some questions for our guest or for us, please let us know. This is an open forum. We'd love to hear what's on your mind, what's on your heart, and we'll answer it as best we can. I take you back to when we had that lovely Irishman whose name now escapes me. Danny, you'll know who I'm talking about. We had a lovely Q&A session before he eventually popped on, and we'd love to have that experience a little bit more and more if, as name of this podcast, starts to spread around. In fact, it's so interesting nowadays. Danny and I were talking off air as we were prepping for this show that the concept of Fireside expanding so rapidly to include audio and video, it was originally a concept that I knocked because here's the reason why. If you're on radio, there's no visual element and you have to use your words to tell a story. When you're on television, now you're bringing a persona of describing a story to a visual platform. But it's ultimately the route of which to go when both mediums come together like a lovely little pea in a pod, I suppose is the proper expression. So you've got one of either two choices, buckle under or retire, or get with the program. That's ultimately the way that one goes. Let's see what wonderful little fortune cookie...
Ain't that the truth?
wisdom. Let's see what little fortune cookie wisdom Daniela has pasted on here. She's always got something smart, especially with the Batman comment last week. Boy, did that catch me off guard, because... Oh, Aaron Sorkin, one of my favorite writers. If you're dumb, surround yourself with smart people.
I've got Ryan here. He can't find us. Invite him in, please.
All right.
I don't think I can
Let's get him. All right. Let me see if I can make a plan here. Let's see if I can make a plan. Chris to the rescue. Where are you, Sonny Jim?
And by the way, if I'm not responding, it's because you're going. Okay, you're going in and out. I'm sorry.
Am I going in and out?
Yes. I went to Fireside.
Right.
And nothing pops up, and I just followed the page.
That is phenomenally weird.
He'll find it.
Let's see what goes.
Hey, there's Woody.
Hey, Woody Woodpecker. Woody. How you doing, Squire? Ryan has texted me here.
I'm going to try and see if I can share. Okay. Nope, there's no way to do that.
Hmm.
Oh, he's on there now, he says.
All right.
I guess we'll see him when he
Uh,
pops up.
we'll see him when he pops up. All right. I'm just going to type him a message here. Keep talking. Uh,
Sorry to keep you hanging. If you're watching live, we thank you very much. And you are welcome to join us on Fireside and ask questions and join in the fun. That's what this is all about, is to come
absolutely.
and be part of a live audience and ask questions and give us your smart remarks. And you have about 30 different sound effects. You can make fun of us. You can clap for us.
You can throw us the middle finger.
Okay, he says, Kay, ready on this. He said he's ready on this page. Can Fireside follow me back so we're in sync, perhaps? I think he did not read the instructions. Uh,
oh. Oh. Oh,
Not
boy, technology.
Instagram. Mm. It's amazing
I've
how
just
many
typed.
people don't read the fine print. We talked about this last week.
Oh, yeah. Where the large print giveth, the small print taketh away. Oh,
I
boy.
know.
But
I
isn't
worked
that.
for,
I'm listening.
Chris, I worked for some serious big time. I work for, am I talking clearly? Can you hear me with this
I
bad
am.
internet connection?
I can hear you loud and clear, darling. Carry on right ahead. You're coming through
Okay.
crystal clear.
So I work with some pretty badass people, in my career, and I work as vice president of Jay Bernstein Productions, which
Hmm.
Jay Bernstein was the actual creator of Personal Managers in Hollywood. He managed over 600 stars, Sammy Davis Jr., Sinatra, Sharon Stone, Farrah Fawcett. I mean, he created all of these people.
Right.
And he was a and I learned a lot from this guy. And so now it's hard not to have expectations on others because I'm never late. I don't show up unless I'm dying. I mean, I don't not show up unless I'm dying. All these things that he taught me. Basically, we, we wrote a book together, uh, the making of a Hollywood star, and
Right.
we write about all these things that it takes to become an A-lister. And when people don't, he says, I didn't get the, sorry to stop in the middle. I didn't get the press release. Yes, you did. Is it Zoom? I'm so sorry, Ryan. We will have to reschedule. There's no time left now because you have to request access from Fireside, and that takes a day or two. Thank you, though. Oh, it didn't work, of course.
Oh, pooh.
There's no
But
way
you
he
know
can
what?
get on now. It's too late.
Oh,
So
man. Okay, right.
nothing
Not a problem.
happens
We'll
in
make up.
God's world. Nothing happens in God's world by mistake. I truly believe that.
No, absolutely. Goes without saying. It goes without saying. But please continue that story which you were talking about. Jay Bernstein said he was never late, and so on and so forth. It's hard not to have expectations. Was it where you stopped yourself mid-sentence?
Jay Bernstein was the biggest hard ass in Hollywood, and that's
Hmm.
why he managed so many stars. I mean, he each celebrity has a story before he made them into what they were. Like Farrah Fawcett, it was the
Oh,
promotion of the poster.
oh
That was
my.
his thing, that he got her real big. That was his idea.
Yeah.
There was Christy McNichol, from Three Stooges, I believe. Just it was his idea for Sinatra to throw the underwear into the audience. And,
Oh, you kidding me?
this guy taught me so much. No, I was vice president of his company and I learned a lot from this man.
Oh man, I'm so envious.
Unfortunately, at the tail end, at the tail end of my, I worked for him in Clark Gable's home, where it was his home, and I had the top floor was my office. Clark Gable
Oh,
and
neat.
Greta Garbo's old house that they lived in, and I had
Mm-hmm.
the top floor. And he taught me so many things, and now I find it so hard to relate to. And I hate to say millennials, but a lot of the millennials, they'll say, okay, well, I don't want to do this job because I don't like what you're saying. So I'm going to go do another job. And they just quit and they move
Mm.
on from job to job to job, or they just aren't very thorough. And, it just, I'm such a hard ass now. I mean, you don't want to work for me.
I would
But
happily work for you because I'm not a millennial by nature.
that's right. That's right. So that's why I really wanted to work with you, is because I knew you had just in the brief time that I had spoken with you, such a beautiful voice, of course, but your sense of life and your wide, you know, I'm trying not to say, and I did really good a couple episodes ago, but now I see I'm back to
Oh,
that.
just say it for posterity's sake.
You have such a mature sense of what's going on in the world. I really, really appreciate your humor, and I would love for you to work with me. But anyway, so
And I will
sorry,
work
didn't get
my
the
teeth
information. Okay,
through for
well,
you.
so good old Hollywood days, and what happened with that was I finally just smoked too much crack one night, believe it or not. Horrible to say. And I showed up and I didn't look very good. And he kind of knew. And that was it. We had a fight and that was it. And I
Oi,
did not return. And it was sad. It was sad.
I'm
Jay
sure.
was very abusive. He was very abusive, but he knew a star when he saw one. And
Mm,
I
mm.
feel so lucky to have been chosen to help him recreate himself at such a crucial time in his life, where he was um, kind of in the middle of we actually, I was executive producer on a show. It didn't go through, and you're going to laugh when I tell you why. It was called the Public Defender's Office. So we had all the rights to the Public Defender's Office, and
Neat.
he was the what?
I said neat.
Oh yeah, really cool, of Los Angeles, and he was the producer of uh,
He was Matlock. I remember
Matlock,
Matlock. Correct.
and yeah,
Barnaby
he
Jones, I
did all
remember.
so many shows. Anyway, he was big. He was a big guy, and I forgot what I was saying. I hate when that happens.
Terrible feeling, isn't it?
So, it's part of the brain damage that I've done. So I was trying to recreate him because he was in the middle of this trying to pitch a series to the studios, and
I see.
it was a great concept, wonderful concept. The Public Defender's Office. When he was on page 3 of the Hollywood Reporter, he absolutely lost his mind and threw up the papers in the air, and we didn't do it because he was not on the front page.
Oh,
That's what kind of person Jay
no.
Bernstein is.
Yee.
So everything happens for a reason.
Oh,
And
sure.
with
Everything
my
happens for
my
a good
drug
reason.
abuse, yeah, my drug abuse, that was the start of the really bad downfall for me.
Mm, mm,
Ooh, I went really down after that because I started bartending. And that's when I was introduced to other drugs like methamphetamines and
mm,
stuff like that. And
mm,
that's, when you're bartending and you're, I had a lot of people I was managing at the time because I was working for Jay Bernstein. So everybody was trying to get me to manage them because I was, his sidekick. So I
sure.
was managing all these people and I was bartending and trying to feed this live addiction, this live wire that was just everywhere,
Oh boy!
everywhere I went.
Did I ever
It
tell you about
was, it was,
my first performance that I did drunk?
no,
I never told you the
let's hear
story.
it.
Okay. Well, okay. I have, as I told you off air, a very varied portfolio in the entertainment business. I act myself. I began my career in South Africa as an actor, but I made my bones predominantly as a radio personality. Back then in the years of yore,
Here.
uh, if you had one profession in the entertainment business, that's what you stuck with. But now, with technology and the advent of social media and that, it's now become imperative for an entertainer to have more than one profession. So you can do acting the one day, you can do radio the next, or you can do voiceover. So I was unfortunately one of those sticklers where I said, no, 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 I want this profession and this profession exclusively. That's it. And you learn that lesson yourself in that don't deny yourself that because you never know. The one skill set you learn in the one medium helps helps strengthen you in another profession. You with me? So I was still I was doing
Yeah.
nighttime radio at the tail end of 2016. That's when I got the job. In 2017, I got my shift, which was 4 night shifts: Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it was 5 night shifts. Thank God for that because that helped me with the rent a couple of months. And plus, also, it helped me with the booze. So nice going. But in my off time,
Uh,
um, I would do plays, I would do radio dramas, whatever came my way. And I always marketed myself. I had agents that did absolutely diddly squat for me, and I hired them and I fired them like toilet paper. So in any event, I scored an opportunity with a little dinner theater in the town where the radio station was situated, and they were doing a production of all things Grease. And I auditioned for a couple of character parts, and I eventually landed the role of Kenicky, Jeff Conway's character. It was a very, very difficult production to get on the ropes because we were essentially 4 people and we had to do stage managing, paint the backdrops. I had to rewrite the script, as a matter of fact. We cut out a lot of key scenes to make it all succinctly fit for 4 people. And on curtain call, or not curtain call, opening night,
amazing.
we were so nervous, all of us, because I was the only classically trained actor in the troupe. All the others were basically fly-by-nights. And in comes the hors d'oeuvres, and we all, for the nerves, the excuse, the nerves, started partaking in 2003 rosé. Very sweet in the tongue on the first taste, but it it kicks like a bull between the legs. And I got so verschnickered. But how I got through that performance, I can not tell you, but I did it word and action perfect, and I actually had to improvise because all of a sudden there was a power outage and one of the main floodlights went out. I don't know what I said. I think I challenged one of the front row seat guys who was being a little bit huffy puffy to a so called fight because if you know Grease, the film, Kinnicky is this loudmouth, hard edged, wisecracking character trying to engage the audience until eventually the power came back on and we could continue with the play. And after a curtain call, I was slurring like you would not believe, and I had to drive myself home, and I was guzzling coke and
Oh,
rum and coke, in the hope of sobering up. nice, nice thinking, Chris.
oh my
But
gosh. Good thinking.
good thinking, very, very good thinking. Absolutely ace, absolutely bloody ace.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was fun while it lasted. So we all have those stories. And I said this to someone quite recently. In recovery, I can understand. You and I know a couple of people who have been in the entertainment business who've subsequently retired in recovery because they feel they don't belong there anymore. If you've been given a God given talent, be it for whatever in the performance spectrum, there's no such thing as a second, not getting a second chance. We all have a second chance at doing what we love. Think about it. If we've been born into this life with a certain talent, why waste it by holding it unto your bosom for yourself? There are people who can be enriched by it. I mean, look at Robert Downey Jr. He had ups and downs left and right with drug addictions, incarcerations, and the lot. And he successfully, by grace, got himself into a position where he got a second chance and he looked after it. And I mean, his
Yeah.
performances from the point where he got sober. I remember one of his first comebacks after Ally McBeal was I think, a forgotten film, but it's a scary, scary, scary thing called Gothica. Fantastic performance. And then, of course, Good Night and Good Luck, The
Mm.
Shaggy Dog for the kids. And then, of course, came Sherlock Holmes and Iron Man and all those
Yeah.
superstar things. So, all of us, the case in point is we have gifts and talents that we may discover for the first time in recovery. I say, whatever chance
Hmm.
you get, build on it and don't be afraid to chase that dream which you thought lost. I can appreciate the fact that a lot of people have said, you know what, no, this is not for me. It's brought me too many bad memories and it might serve as a trigger. I respect that. But don't deny yourself the opportunity to do what you were meant to do in this life because it's not going to let you go. My humble opinion.
It's true. It is true. I agree with you there. It kind of it'll come back in your face.
Big time.
Like with this fireside thing, I have no idea how Fallon found me. I I did a podcast. I purposely picked people that were just my friends on Instagram. And I mean, I've
Mm,
done
mm.
so much television, so much stunts. I mean, I had broadcasting career. That was my deal. And I just for some reason didn't want to do it. I was like, I don't want to do this. So I did everything to set myself up for just the easiest coasting ride.
Ah,
Got people that weren't big writers or, uh, you know, not very accomplished, but they were sober. They were great stories. Um, and I
oh, can we
just
tell stories?
didn't really promote it. And I just didn't like it. I didn't want to do it. And this came up and I thought, "Ooh, I don't know. Is this going to be the same thing? Am I going to feel that way?" So I called you. All right. I said, "Chris, will you do this show
You
with
did.
me?" And yeah, because I saw a lot of
The thought,
pairs on Fireside,
I have to say, what
a
went
lot
through
of
my
people that
mind
were
when you gave me that call was a fact of the most beautiful woman on planet Earth asks me to do a show with her. Oh my, I have hit the big time. And I really mean it, Danny. You really
it's
are one
okay.
of the most beautiful women on earth, not just for your looks, which is
Oh,
absolutely breathtaking, but you come across with an extremely maternal instinct that I think you may not even realize that you've had. And I have to say,
mhm.
I can be insecure as a man. It can be quite surprising and it can catch anyone off guard because, you know, we as a human species tend to look at one another with a one dimensional angle. Guilty. I've been guilty of that in the past. But once you get to know someone a little better, you realize there's something a little deeper than what meets the eye. And I mean, you
Mhm.
and I have a common love of animals. We have a common love for art. And it's been such a privilege and a pleasure as we have worked on this project so extensively to come to know you as not only Daniela Park, the entity, of doing it sober live, but Daniela the woman. That's what piques my personal interest as a beyond the realm of an entertainer. And then I have to say this as well. Those eyes of yours, that sparkle and that beaming smile, I can't get enough.
No, you you definitely have my heart, Chris.
And you have
No,
mine, darling.
I knew when you said yes that this was going to be something different than what I had done before. And every time that I finish the show, I'm so thankful and I'm so grateful and I'm so happy and thankful that I actually did it because I feel so
I
good
can
after I do
imagine.
it. And
It's
we
like your
keep,
own little Fear
yeah, we keep
Factor
getting
episode.
great guests.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. You sucker. You know, when I I think what the thing is I have always been an extrovert, and I moved to Florida 3 years ago. I mean, I was one of the reasons why I moved is because I wanted to get out. I hate to say limelight, but I always had commitments. Like I was the secretary of a meeting of 800 people at the AA meeting, and I was the chair of the convention right before I left after 10 years of service. And it was always so much going on that I could hardly even stand it.
I can
I
imagine.
just wanted yeah, I just wanted some peace. So when I came here, woo, I just became, introvert a little bit. And I started with my
Sure.
art and I started really enjoying the outdoors so much more. And
Mm,
my husband and
mm,
I's relationship got so much stronger because all we had was each other. And then I had
mm.
my mother, move here. My father died. And then the illnesses hit, and I don't know what it is, but it's a combination of moving and not interacting with as many people, COVID. It's kind of put a
Right,
little bit of
right.
like fear in me, you know. So
And that's
I have
natural,
fear, but every time, yeah, yeah.
It's absolutely natural. If I can share from
Ev-
from a similar perspective, you know, I had a 10-year bout with alcohol and drug use. It ultimately came to its conclusion on the 25th of October, 10/25, 2018. And you can agree with me on this because you've walked the same shoes that I have had in addiction. When you are
mhm.
moving out of the darkness into the light, it can be discombobulating, uncomfortable. It's new territory. You don't know the forest from the trees. And then 5 months later, after that, there I got the cancer diagnosis. Now, bear in mind, I'm barely even 26 at the time. I'm
Mm,
trying to get on the straight and narrow, and now all of a sudden, I've got this additional life threatening disease. At that moment, I think for any person, there's a moment of fight or flight. You get what I'm saying? Am I going to let this get me, or am I going to fight with all my might? And you and I have spoken about this off air in similar patterns.
mhm.
But in the midst of that struggle, I agree with you. It's very, very difficult. But there are those moments where you can't help to say, I'm going to try. I'm going to try. I'm going to try. I'm going to try again. And I believe firmly that if you give yourself that grace of trying, you've given yourself a fighting chance. Remember, everything life threatening begins here in the head. If you say to yourself, I'm going to beat this, whatever it may be, you're 50% the way there. But the other 50%, of course, is the materialization of taking the nauseating medication, adapting your routine if need be, which is in itself not a lovely affair, but solace yourself that it's only temporary at best. And that when that moment comes where you get that report and you say, all clear, then you start to appreciate life even more. You get what I'm saying? Granted, what you've got
Yes.
is an autoimmune disease, so it's longer term. And they're going to be bad days, is what they're going to be, good days. But and this is for you to decide, but doing what you love alleviates that discomfort. Bike rides, as you mentioned. You recently completed a painting, I remember, of the hawk, of the crow. Forgive me.
Yep.
All that
Yep.
stuff takes
And
your mind
frog.
off the and a frog. I'm deathly afraid of
And a
frogs.
crocodile.
There are,
And a crocodile. I love animals,
oi,
you
oi.
know. They're fun to be.
Oh. Well, naturally, just don't bring a frog near me. Oh, and there was of course the time when I moved into a new apartment that I got a bullfrog in my toilet bowl. The very first week that I moved into a new apartment. Oh Lord, Lordy,
Oh,
I
that's
almost
horrible.
had I almost had a heart attack. I got off air Sunday evening, Monday morning. I came home. Now, if you've been on the air for 3 or 4 hours, you still have that adrenaline coursing through your system. So now it takes an hour more or less to dissipate, and I'm sitting in the living room reading a magazine and drinking hot chocolate to try and get the nerves to calm down and get the sleepiness in my system. And I just hear this. I thought, oh, fuck. Is there a robber in my apartment? Me thinking I'm Rambo, I switch off all the lights. Naturally, I'm
Oh my
thinking
god.
the first thing I need to do is need to switch off all the lights in my apartment. So that will obviously make the robber confused. So I switch off all the lights and I start moving like Rambo to the source of the sound, and it's coming from the bathroom. And I'm moving towards the bathroom, and this sound starts to become a boing bang, whoosh, boing bang,
Oh,
whoosh.
oh
And I
no.
look and I lift the toilet, and here's this horrid green piece of slime staring at me with its beady eyes. I think I
Poor
must have yelled.
thing.
I think I must have yelled to the degree of 20 octaves, because the first thing I did is I shut down. I threw
Oh.
down the toilet lid and I grabbed a box and I just threw everything that I could just to put weight on this toilet seat that this fucking thing doesn't jump out of the toilet bowl and come after me. Needless to say, the next day I got a landscape technician to come into my house and remove the thing. Thank God, but it took me about a month to successfully make use of the lavatory again. Because every time, I'm not
A
joking,
landscape technician. You little chicken.
I had to get a landscape technician. I am a chicken. I am a chicken when it comes to a frog. Rabbit, fuck off. I don't want to
Oh.
see you. Because every
Can
time I
I
wanted
tell
to go to
you?
the I'm listening.
No, I was just going to say I'm so sensitive when it comes to animals. In my office where I work every day, I out
Right?
the window my dogs sit, and
Hmm.
there is a ledge, and there's lizards that go around, and now there's a lot of squirrels because I put up a bird feeder. It's crazy, and um, the, there's a lizard. There's like a lot of lizards, but there's one lizard, and it's big, and it's got a beard, and it goes, "Rah, rah," Gus. And
Right, 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 right.
I have a lot of mail, and I was putting my mail out, and I saw two packages. So I went to grab the packages, and my foot went down, and the thing jumped in front of my foot, and I was so, because I've been seeing this lizard for years. I look at him, and his neck was turning, and his eyes were closed, and I felt so bad. And I thought, God, did I step on him? Did I not step on him? The poor little thing. And then my husband says, take him out to the forest. I'm like, that's normally not what I would do. I would let him, because they go in shock. I would let him sit there. But for some reason, I listened to him. I picked him up. I put him in the forest next door to my house. And then I just felt, I was so upset by
I
it.
can imagine.
This guy is like a couple years old,
Sure, sure, sure,
and
sure, sure.
it's just sad. So I went back outside about an hour and a half later to check on him where I put him. and he was still laying there. And I took a stick and I pushed him, and he jumped up really fast and ran. And for days, for days I've been upset. It's like in my
Sure.
subconscious, it really affected me, like bothered me that I may have hurt him and that he could be suffering. And today I saw him sitting on the ledge where he always sits and looks in my window doing the
Right, right, right,
thing.
right.
And I was like, wow, he found his way back home and he's
Mm.
okay. Just those little things are part of my stresses, and that's not many stresses. When you talk about the illness stuff, it's it's so easy to forget when you are, like you said, doing contrary action, getting on the bicycle, going to thrift shops with your mother because you love trying to find antique purses, or just
Oh, don't even
working
get me started
even.
on thrift
And
shops.
ooh,
That's one
you
of
have to
my.
come to Florida. You would have a blast.
There's one place just around the corner from where I currently live. I'm in the process of moving to another township about 100 miles from here. It's got the very succinct name of Uncle Tim's Cabin. It was originally a house
Mm.
that was converted into a business, and they sell thrift gifts. Now we're talking antiques. We're talking antique books. Now, my one Achilles heel is vinyl, and there you can get vinyl for as little as a buck a pop, reconditioned vinyl. Daniela, my mother mustn't take me there. No, 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 no. I'll blow my entire month's salary on vinyl because I can understand why. That nostalgia, number one. Now, sure, you and I are two completely different generations, but that said as well, the quality with regards to a piece of china or a cup and a saucer. You're going to love this. When I uh, got sober, I began working my amends. Now, I'm the kind of person that I know if I've done you wrong, I will go out of my way to apologize with an act of kindness. You get the picture.
Hmm.
And one day,
Yeah.
I was in between jobs, and I made a secret little trip. It was my mother's birthday coming up, and I made a trip to Uncle Tim's cabin. In conjunction with this story, my parents had gotten divorced in the meantime. It was very acrimonious, and my father had destroyed one of my mother's prized possessions. You'll know it as well as I. The willow pattern plate. Does that ring a bell? And that had a
My mother
very, very,
collects.
my mother had a very close relationship with that willow pattern plate because, like me, she's fond of stories. And those willow pattern plates are not exactly common to find. So I entered this store, this thrift shop, and I spoke with the antique dealer. He buys antiques at a certain price, refurbishes them, restores them to grace, and then he sells them for a profit. And I asked him, "Do you have the willow pattern plate in store?" He scurries about the store, he checks the price lists, everything, and he comes back to me and says, "You know what? I not only have a willow pattern plate for you, I've got a willow pattern tea set for you. A set, a complete set of willow pattern teacups, saucers, and cutlery." And that was my gift that I gave my mother as a sign of my amends for having put her through 10 years of torrid, torrid abuse on my end, emotional abuse. And my mother said to me, "How the hell did you find this?" I said, "Mum, please accept it as a gift and as a token of my apology, and I want to make things right as a symbol of my new character." Now, it sounds materialistic on the outset, surely, but that action, that undertaking is what means the most. Showing my affection and showing my repentance by giving her this willow pattern set, which is
Hmm.
something that she lost, gave her some solace. And that's the kind of actions that I try to implement to get that kind of response, which I live for.
Yeah.
Showing repentance, showing atonement, for one's deeds. It's good enough to say that you're sorry, and I know I'm rambling, but
No.
showing that behavior is what I think leaves the biggest impact.
Yeah,
I
you can
think.
talk about it all day, but if you don't change your behavior, that's the best apology is change behavior. You were
I
talking
love
the
that
other day
quote.
about the 4 step. Are you working on a 4 step?
I did. I did work on a fourth step, and that was one of the most uh, interesting procedures because when you do the fourth step and you draw up the column and you write down a list of all the people who have harmed you and who you think have harmed you, keyword, and you realize, oh my gosh, this is actually I never thought about how I treated someone else. How were their interactions with me? I'm the one that's supposed to be sorry for what I did, not not in reverse. And I think that's a very difficult step to.
Damn it, you did this to me. I'm going to make a list.
Oh yes, and oh boy, did I have a lot of resentments. But it's a hot potato. The concept of forgiveness. There are some that say let go and let live. Others say you don't necessarily need to let go, let live, and I say each to his own. But the decision for me when I did my fourth step last year was the fact of the freedom that I felt when I took that undertaking. It's not a
Hmm,
fact of do I expect life to be um, uh, uh, um, rainbows and unicorns with the person who I have to forgive. Not at all. That person is out of your life for good, but it's your interpretation of the events that happened that changed and your way of looking forward that has changed. Does it leave you a grumpy old fart, or do you actually feel 10? No, it's true. I've worked with
yeah,
people who are my age on their steps, and they are really old men and old grannies the way that they think and speak.
it's
My
hard.
gosh, I think to myself, my golly, you should be on pension. We should put you in an old age home because that's how decrepit your thinking is.
Well, gosh, can you imagine? You've got those people, and then you have the people that don't have this, the 4 step at all. They're really screwed. you know?
Run for the hills with your tails between your legs. That is World War III that you're talking about. Ay, ay, ay.
Yes.
Cheers.
There you
I'm
go.
not. Oh boy. But the fun thing I'm finding, and please, you can contradict me if, because I mean, well, we all have different ways of thinking, but I feel
Oh
that
no.
after I did my fourth step, I can laugh at those experiences, certain experiences, of course. I mean, I spoke about earlier on getting pissed on stage. I can tell you, the very first radio show I did, when I just moved out of the house for a time and I was living by myself, I went and I got knackered at the bar afterwards, knowing that I had to be on the air the next morning, came in with a very god awful hangover, and I was so nervous being on the air doing morning time drive that my
Mm.
stomach got upset and I got a bad case of the trots.
The hell is it? I don't want to know.
An upset stomach.
The drops.
Hey, that's an American.
Oh
It's an Americanism. It's not a French expression. It's an Americanism. The trots.
Lord, I've never heard it.
Well, now you have.
It sounds very, very slippery.
It can be. Oh. Oh, oh boy. You see, point proven. We can I can laugh at those experiences now instead of cringing into a little ball and
Mhm.
thinking to myself, "Oh my golly, will the earth just swallow me in?" But there are still other experiences, even though I've done my fourth step, which I can still look at with a sense of, my golly, I can't believe I acted like that. But then
Yeah.
I take solace in the fact that it's not me anymore, and that there's a life lesson attached to that, which obviously means don't do it again, but an extra dimension to that: why, what, how, how can I prevent it going forward? You get what I'm saying?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. It's great because like for me, I look and I go, I don't have to do those 10 steps they call them. It's like a mini 4 step where we take a look at our day and did
Mm,
we hurt anybody? Were we dishonest? Were we jealous? Were we resentful? Lust? How was our day? We kind of, and we write it down for quite a while and then we have it in our minds when we go to bed. We think, what did we do? Do we owe anybody an amends? And what could we do better next time? And then we ask God to
right,
remove those
surely.
shortcomings.
Mm,
And it's nice to not have to even think about that. I don't really piss that many people
sure.
off these days. It's awesome.
Well, how could
That's
you? You're a beautiful woman.
one thing off my list. Even in sobriety, I can remember so many times where I was so, so irritated inside because of something at work and it just would fester. And, because the tools they were fresh, they were new, and I was learning on how to become, more self sufficient mentally and become a more humble person, I guess you could say. And
I
it,
can understand.
it's so it's so nice these days, the simple life. It is just so wonderful because there's a natural boundary that I can just set with people
Mm.
that I would never be able to do. I was a yes person and I was
Ah,
highly overcommitted. And, so I thought I'd run to Florida and get at no. But it's nice. I love being free and sobriety.
sure, sure.
It's freedom. It is total and utter freedom if you do the work. There are plenty of people that get
Absolutely.
sober and they have this and they don't know what to do with this. And whether it's AA, your friend Jay, Hype Recovery, there's
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
much out there. Like, you can't do this alone. It can't be done alone.
No,
Because you know why?
never.
Because the self can never reveals self to self. It just, not with an alcoholic mind. We cannot reveal our stuff to ourselves. We need someone else to see it and point it out. We need someone else to give us advice on, when we're new, we don't know. We are very fresh and raw and we haven't lived a normal, not normal, we've lived, I'll just say, a mediocre life. And that doesn't
Well
give
put.
us a lot to brag about when it comes to emotion. And so it's incredible when you grab somebody and when you work with somebody. I'll tell you, it's so sad. Today, one of the things that really upset me is I would sponsor a girl. She became my sister. I mean, my sister. And we look alike. She she drove us to Florida. She was like family. 7
Right.
years, 8 years. Family. I sponsored her for 8 years.
Golly.
Today, I found out that she is addicted to fentanyl and that her baby was born addicted to fentanyl.
Oh,
And it's
no.
just so sad because I never knew she was into drugs. She only drank. She relapsed when I left. And I helped her through that. We got her into a place. We got all these people to come and help her. And then it just kept happening. And then it just kind of, there's only so much you can do for a person I'm in a
Of
different
course.
state. And then now it's this. And I'm just going, Oh my God, she's gonna be buried one day. You can't take fentanyl. You'll die. And
No,
so it's
of course.
sad because I know that if she doesn't get help, she's gonna die. And that fucking sucks, you know.
Well, it does suck. It
Ugh.
does suck
So
in so many
that's just
levels.
mhm.
And I remind myself of that lesson every given
Mhm.
day. That there are people out there who are consistently struggling, and our lives should be a testament on the tongue twister for them. And that's why, and I'm going to say something that might be stepping on toes, and that's why the infighting in the recovery community has to stop. If your way of thinking is different from my way of thinking, that should be celebrated because that's what is our unique trademark. The concept of
Yes.
saving lives is exactly that, saving lives. For some people, it is, like with you and I, abstinence. With other people, it's through maybe a method of harm reduction, or maybe through an inpatient outpatient program. The menu is varied to the hilt. Let's put our
Mhm.
heads together and let's talk and let's get methods going on achieving the common goal of saving a life, right? And I must say, in the past, there have been some views with regards to how one should recover on both ends of the spectrum that have made my hair collectively stand on end. And the lesson that I've learned through that is there's no one size fits all, but the damage is equally the same. If a life is gone, that life cannot be returned.
Yeah.
Let's bandy together. That's it. And let's talk. But if there should be a case of uh, disagreements, let's agree to disagree for God's sake. We still are a democratic society, and we're fortunate to be in a democratic society. But if someone says something that you may not agree with, shut up
Yeah.
and pray for that person if you feel the need
There
to.
you go.
But but don't start an unnecessary catfight because that draws away from the common goal. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if you are going to be obnoxious and silly, and you are going to get a hiding, take your hiding like a man or a woman that you are, and don't go running around on social media with like acting like a dog with a hurt paw and become a keyboard warrior. That needs to be said.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm
When
I'm
I
just
started
being very
AA,
open and honest.
yeah, I agree. I totally agree with that. When I started AA, I had a very one track mind, and they put it in my head that that was the only way. And for me, it was, I'll be honest. I was a person that needed the steps. I needed that. That was the only thing that worked for me because I had been through rehab. I had done all these things. And when I
Hmm.
found that love and that those steps, and when I was able to give that back to people, it was just my tribe. It just was. But as time went on, I started becoming way more open minded at going, wow, look at these. This is 10 years ago. But
Hmm.
there's so many ways. And a lot of people, it's all it takes is going into one meeting with one person that might set them off and make them feel like they don't like it, or they think it's a plan or whatever, all the things that all of us think about when we come in.
Mm,
uh,
mm.
God always directs us where we need to be. If we ask for direction, we will get it. Seek and you will find. And
Amen, I say
one of the
to you,
big
my
things
dearest.
is spirituality.
Uh huh. Hmm.
Spirituality
Absolutely.
is yeah.
I attended NA here in South Africa for about 6 months or so. This is when the hard pandemic, or the hard lockdown, forgive me, was still at the state of play. And like with what you and I are doing, meetings online were virtual. But what really put me off about the whole thing is South Africa sadly has got this culture of if you're an addict, you have to attend an inpatient outpatient program. That's it. Otherwise, there's no other way to recover. And that's unfortunately a very institutionalized way of thinking. And I'll verify that because when I just was celebrating my second sober birthday, we were in a meeting And it was about at the close, and I mentioned that it was my 2 year birthday, and the question got presented to me: do you regret not attending rehab? And I, just without a second notice, just shook my head and said no. Oh, my stars. Everyone looked at me with daggers in the eyes, fire and brimstone. How can you say that you didn't, that you are in recovery, but you didn't attend an inpatient outpatient program? I almost wanted to say, listen, you fuckwits, you're in the same position as I was. You also made equal amount of mistakes of what I had done. What gives you the right to judge me? We're here to support one another at the end of the day. And I stopped going to that NA meeting, and ultimately
Mhm.
I found the recovery that I needed right here, right now, courtesy of the US and courtesy of Canada, speaking to people like you and that. And everything that you have shared with me and our uh, friendship, you've given me tools that I put in my toolbox, which I use every given day. So, as you quite rightly
Mhm.
say, God directs all our paths. But again, man, damn it, the narrow mindedness is astounding. Gee whiz.
Yeah. It's
Fucking tragedy and a
it's
half.
it's it's smoke and mirrors is what it is, and it's always going to be that way, and it's
I'm
going to
sad
get
to say
worse.
I have
But
to agree.
yeah.
I'm sad to say I have to agree. But one can truly hope for the contrary. Folks, as we draw to a close, we would like to offer an apology for our guest not arriving. Things like that does happen from time to time. But we'd like to thank you for sticking with us and hearing us, not rambling, that's a negative word, I rebuke you, but hearing us continually sharing about our collective experiences in recovery. And I hope that if you are in recovery yourself, or if you are sober curious for that fact, something has rubbed off on you, bar none, and we extend an open door invitation to you. Please come onto the show, listen to our stories, listen to our guests' stories, have fun with us, because this ultimately, doing it sober, equals a second chance. And that is the second chance that you owe yourself, and that's what you've been granted by on high. And we ask you, especially where times are tough and we are still recovering from the after effects of a pandemic, please don't hesitate. This is a free medium. Avail yourself. I'm here. Danny is here, equally important. Go on doing it sober live. See what Danny has to offer. We want to help at the end of the day. This is not a platform for us to get rich or famous or both. We just want to help. And this is our way of giving back from what we've gotten from the help that's been extended to us in our time of need. God willing, we'll be back again on Tuesday. Danny, thank you so much for your patience. I love you to pieces, my darling. You're the most beautiful woman. You are Aphrodite reincarnated, my dear. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Chris.
God bless, guys. Bye bye now.